Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special meeting of the City of Los Angeles Board of Public Works. Hope everybody is doing swimmingly and excited to do the city's business. So, Dr. Campos, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Establishing roll call and quorum for today, we have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum. For the record, all commissioners are dialing in remotely. President Good is dialing in from his City Hall office. All others are dialing in from home. I myself am dialing in remotely from my City Hall office, and we are also joined telephonically by our counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, who's on the line. President Good, again, you do have a quorum. At this time, we do not have any members of the general public that wish to provide public comments. However, we did receive one public comment through our Google form, through our website, and I can read that into the record as soon as your meeting starts. In regards to the neighborhood council commentary, no commentary for that section, and we also do not have any members from the general public on any of the items for today's special agenda.
What we do have is a Mingo Orozco sighting on the screen. Hello, Mingo. All right, thank you, Dr. Campos. So let's jump right in, colleagues. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes from Tuesday, February 23, 2021. Do I have a second to my motion to approve?
So moved. Oh, second, rather.
Looking very sharp, Commissioner Davis. And
thank you, sir. I'm trying to keep up with you.
Oh, you do well, brother. Any objections or concerns, Vice President Garcia, Commissioners Villegas or Caloza?
None. None for me.
All right. Auto, was that a no?
No. None for me.
All right. Hearing no objections, the minutes from Tuesday, February 23 are approved and adopted forthwith. That brings us
President?
to... Yes, sir.
Would you like me to read into the record the public comments so we can close that section out?
Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. I missed that, Fernando. Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did receive one public comment through our Google form that's posted on our website. It's from Dr. Tom Williams. He indicates these written comments go into Board of Public Works, thanks, but can the page also return a copy of comments to the submitters via email so that we do not have to copy saved comments on screen, please? End quote. Okay. Mr. President, that concludes and closes out public comments.
Thank you. All right, and thanks for the reminder there, Dr. Campos. All right, that brings us to item 2. Item 2 is a request for proposals, RFP, personal services contract, mobile pit stop, mobile showers, and skid row cleaning programs. Recommending the board, 1, release the transmitted request for proposal for facilities attendant and monitoring services at permanent, temporary, portable, and automatic public toilets and operation of mobile shower trailers and related attendant and monitoring services and skid row cleaning program. 2, evaluate the RFP submissions, select and interview the most qualified proposers based on upon the requirements and procedures set forth in the RFP. 3, negotiate personal services contracts with the most highest rated and most responsive proposers subsequent to the receipt and objective review of all proposals submitted in response to the transmitted RFP. And 4, return to the Board of Public Works for authority to award and execute contracts with a term period sufficient to provide the described services. Who is presenting today, Dr. Campos?
Mr. President, we have Mr. Mike Yu from the Board of Public Works, and he's also joined by Domingo Orozco from the Bureau of Sanitation for any questions.
Yep, that's right. I see Mike up there. Hello, Mike.
Good afternoon, President Good.
Good afternoon. And then Domingo in tandem. So go ahead and jump in. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Good, Commissioners, Bureau representatives, representatives from City Attorney's Office, and the Board Executive Officer. So my name is Mike Yu. I'm working for the Board of Public Works Executive Office. In January 2019, Mayor Garcetti and the Los Angeles City Council approved the allocation of $6.5 million in HIP funding to continue and expand the existing mobile pit stop program and launch a new mobile shower program and a skid row cleaning program. So this board approved the release of an RFP in March 2019 for the mobile pit stop and the mobile shower programs. So as the result of the RFP, 5 key schools and programs was deemed as the most qualified proposer to operate the mobile pit stop and the mobile shower program. On July 30th, 2019, contract C-133592 was executed to provide these services for 1 year with 2 1-year renewal options. On November 6, 2019, amendment number 1 was implemented to allow the LA SAN to utilize the contract to provide monitoring and attendance services for their Care Pass program. On April 2nd, 2020, amendment number 2 was implemented to provide additional hygiene services to Council District 11 and expand the service to 24 hours per day at one of the pit stop locations in Skid Row. On July 17, 2021, amendment number 3 was implemented to exercise the first renewal option and extend the contract term to June 30, 2021. At the same time, based on the time constraint and the pilot nature of the program, the board authorized a sole source contract to be carried out with the Hunter Point family to operate the Skid Row cleaning program on September 23, 2019. So based on the success of the program, an amendment was executed to exercise the renewal option and extend the contract term to July 30, 2021. On June 29, 2020, under Council File 19-0914, the Mayor and the City Council authorized allocation of funds from the Homeless Housing Assistance and the Prevention Program funding to the board to continue all 3 programs. All these programs, as well as the Bureau's as LA SAN Care Pass program, has been successfully in improving the cleanliness of the local communities, addressing the needs of the local homelessness population, and reduce the public health risk. The current term for both contracts will expire on June and July of this year. It is in the city's best interest to release an RFP to continue the service without interruption, obtain the best value for the city, also provide opportunities to a broad pool of the contractors. Therefore, I'm requesting the board approval to release the said RFP ASAP. This completes my report. I'm open to any questions you might have. Thank you.
You're on mute.
Yeah. Again, a year later. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Domingo, anything you want to add?
We're fully supportive of the board's office work on this, and we look forward to working with the team to assist and move this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. All right, and thank you, Mike. Colleagues, let's open this up. Vice President Garcia, do you have any questions or?
I do not have any. Well, you know, I'm looking through the board report and I was trying to find out how long are you wanting this new RFP? I know you're putting out an RFP, but how long would this new contract be for? So, like a 2-year, 1 year?
The new contract will be, Hi, Commissioner Garcia, the new contract will be for 1 year plus 2 1-year renewal options.
So possibly 2 year. This is a 2-year contract. Whoever.
No, that's like a 3-year contract.
Okay, got it.
1 year with 2 1-year renewal options.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
that will be
perfect.
3 years contract.
Okay, I don't have any other questions right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I don't have any questions either. I'm fine with this item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to hear with the lawnmower going, but outside. But some of the questions I have come as a result of me not hearing clearly. But I really wanted to know that basically what we're doing in summary here is reinstituting the contract, or basically extending it to those service providers who have worked with us over the last fiscal year. Is that pretty accurate here?
No, actually, we want to open to a broad contract base.
I see.
Doesn't necessary to the new contract doesn't necessary for the current contractors. Whoever can submit the best reschedule and provide all best quality service to the city, then will be selected as the contractor. That's one of the purpose for this RFP.
Okay, so we want to open it up to a wider selection.
That's correct.
To choose from.
Yeah, that's correct.
Let me ask that the services that we need to provide are the same. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We've not expanded the need to provide more service, but by opening it up, we can be able to more efficiently evaluate our financial worth in terms of, can we get the better, more efficient dollar for our buck, or et cetera, in terms of making a decision if we can do it more financially prudent in terms of opening it up. Is that what it will allow us to do?
Yes, Commissioner Davis, your understanding is correct.
Okay.
Especially in the current COVID-19 situation, we want to see whether there's an opportunity we can get a better risk for the same service.
Right. And so I understood, unfortunately, I did not hear because somebody was cutting grass. But what was the answer in terms of, as it relates to other vendors that we have used in the past? Were we satisfied with the past performance, even though I know it makes good sense to open it up because it will allow us to, make a better decision? But what was the performance like in the last fiscal year for us?
In the last fiscal year, actually, both contracts performed very well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we release RFP is not based on their poor performance. We just want to open to a broader contract base to see whether we can have a better reschedule for the same kind of service.
Wonderful. And I think that when we look at our economic input with this contract is important. So how much were we spending on this service from the city?
The estimate would be $6.5 million for mobile pit stop and mobile shower, and $2 million for skid row cleaning program. That's on an annually basis.
Sure. So when we look at our worth and what we have spent on this service, I agree with the Bureau that to open it up is really good because it does give other opportunities to businesses that might be able to provide the service to the standards that we expect. So for that reason, I support your recommendation.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. I believe we actually have a public comment on the item. So what I want to do is Commissioner Close, I want to give you an opportunity. We'll hear public comment. If there's subsequent questions that folks have, we'll go there. By the way, also there is a Ted Jordan sighting as well. All the stars coming out on Friday afternoon as their cameras allow. So hi, Ted.
Hi, my power came back on. So
I feel like there may have been factors at play. People didn't want us to have our lawyer for our board meeting, so they shut the power down. I'm playing that is not for the public record. Dr. Campos, we have a caller for this item?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Caller ending in 682. Caller ending in 682. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 2 of today's special agenda. Please go ahead. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 2.
Thank you. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, and I'm somewhat mystified by item 2 because it does say a personal services contract for attendant and monitoring services. It doesn't say anything about providing those services, just for attendant to, I guess, watch at it and monitor the use of it. So there needs to be some clarification as to, are the personal services going to include provision of the mobile pit stop, mobile showers, and skid row cleaning programs? Seems kind of strange differences. Also, I would highly recommend not to use the word our phrase Skid Row, because that's CD 14, and this particular item is identified for all CDs. So remove Skid Row. It's had a hard enough time, and we have a skid median out here in El Sereno, so we're quite concerned about that. So that's pretty. Also, one of my favorites is please identify the areas where it's going to be used to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment so that they can notify where these contractors are going to be in regard to neighborhood council boundaries. Zemis provides all of those neighborhood council designations if you can't find them on your own. So that's pretty much it for this one. I do have a public comment that I couldn't get connected for some reason. But I can do that later at the end. I will also speak on item number 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I will motion to move the item forward. Do I have this? Oh, wait, I thought we, sorry. Jessica, please forgive me. Any questions or comments, Commissioner Pelosi? Please forgive me.
President Good, you know I always have questions.
Sure.
But I see you're trying to let Domingo get away cleanly here. Not a chance. No, but I'm just kidding. But thank you, Mr. Yu, for your presentation and for working on this. I know you've taken on a lot of work to kind of provide and work on these contracts as a supplement to the Livability Services Division. I had a few questions. I think for one of them, just to follow up on something that Vice President Garcia asked in terms of the length of the contract, when I saw this item today, I thought to myself, I could have sworn we just approved this, which kind of begs the question, is it feasible to do this in the one-year terms that you're doing them in? I say that because I know how much work it is for you all to put together an RFP. And so in these 2-year terms, these 2 one-year terms, I know now this is going to be essentially a 3-year contract. Just wondering whether or not, that's easier for you all to kind of manage this, or is that mostly because we staggered the 1 year as a result of the homelessness funding?
Commissioner Caloza, I think according to the common practice for the city contracting process, I think the 3-year term will be the most cost-effective and efficient method to carry forward services. I mean, meanwhile, the original term only 1 year, but we put in 2 1-year renewal options, so which basically gave the city the freedom if we don't really. The services standard, if it doesn't meet our requirement, we can always just terminate the contract. But however, we want to have that 2 1-year renewal options there to give us the freedom to easier monitor the contract, meanwhile operate the contract.
Right.
Does this answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I was trying to understand if it was as a result of the that it's easier to do it this way. Just, I've seen other personal services contracts that are longer. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just more wondering why we ended up staggering it this way, since it is a lot of work for the teams right now to keep putting out RFPs all the time.
I see. Another reason is if the contract term more than 3 years, so we need a council approval. So this contract basically is based on the state funding, so year by year basis. So we cannot 100% ensure about the future funding. So I think the best way to approach this contract will be 1 year plus 2 1-year renewal option. That's just my thought.
Were you going to say something, Dr. Campos?
I was, but Mike actually just said exactly what I was going to say. It's really based on your funding that's available. So it's really year to year, and sometimes the program changes month to month in terms of funding and reappropriation. So we think it's more prudent to do it on an annual basis simply because we don't know what the next year will hold. We don't know how much money will be available through the grant, through the HAP program. So we opted to go in a direction where it's a 3-year contract, but 1-year renewal option. So that gives the city the flexibility to either modify the contract or renegotiate anything that's needed at the time of the renewal, if needed.
Got it. And then I guess, Mr. Are there any big differences from this RFP before us and the one that we released 2 years ago? Did you guys make any material changes?
We do. Like for the mobile pit stop program, through the amendment number 2, we provide additional hygiene services to the CD11 for a year. So I incorporate that part also into the current RFP. Also on the previous RFP, only cover the mobile pit stop and the mobile shower program. For this new RFP, I also added the skid row cleaning program. So opening to the broader contract base instead of just continue as a social contract.
Got it. Maybe I just have a last follow-up question from my end for Mr. Orozco here. For the information that was asked by Dr. Williams, does LA San share these services online somewhere that is easy to look up by chance? Or I don't know if it's something that our board office does, but I just wanted to ask.
No, great question, Commissioner. Currently, the vast majority of our deployment is in service to the bridge home zones on those days of service, providing enhanced services, working through the Mayor's Unified Homeless Response Center. We're providing an enhanced level of service when we're conducting cleanup operations there. So we bring the mobile hygiene unit with our 5 Keys and Urban Alchemy partners, and we're providing tent exchange and distribution, sanitary kit distribution. This allows us also to further social distancing while we're conducting this operation. In the sanitary kits, that includes masks, gloves, hand sanitizer. The tent distribution is run through this program as well as a platform for really a public health service so that we can distribute shelters while allowing people to shelter in place. So the vast majority of our deployment is in service to those locations on their posted days of service.
Okay. And those locations are online for Dr. Williams. There's Bridge Home website with some locations there, but at least wanted to point him to the right direction in terms of better understanding where these services occur. I don't think I have any more questions from my end. I appreciate your work and your work as well, Mr. Yu, on this. Thank you, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. I would build on your last question. Perhaps we could, on our Public Works website, at least list the permanent sites that are attended. I don't know if that's on our site or not, and as they're deployed temporarily, because I know they're temporarily permanent, we could post those as well.
President Good. For my program, Mobile Pizza, Mobile Shower, I'm not aware actually there's a section on the Board of Public Works website to indicate the list of locations. But however, I'm working with the IT person to make that happen.
Terrific. That's great, Mike. Thank you very much. And thank you for the suggestion, Commissioner Calosa and Dr. Williams. All right. Very good. So I'll motion to move this forward. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any questions or concerns? Commissioner Calosa, Villegas, Vice President Garcia.
And for me.
Huh?
I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, hearing no objections, the item is adopted forthwith. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Domingo. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, colleagues, that brings us to item number 3. Item number 3 is a personal services contract, amendment number 2, and restated contract, Film LA, Inc. Recommending the board, 1, approve the second amendment and restated contract with Film LA, Inc. for film permit coordination services, extending the term through June 30, 2025, and updating the fee schedule and contract standard provisions, including option for 1 5-year extension, and 2, authorize the president or authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute the second amendment and restated contract. This item, if approved, will need to go to the council and mayor for final approval and as well before it comes back here for signature. So with that, Dr. Campos, who is presenting? Are you?
We have Miss Eva Bitar on the line.
Oh, there's Eva. Okay. Good afternoon, Miss Bitar.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good. Ms. Bitar, as folks know, is the manager of our film and television production office. Good afternoon, and why don't you jump on in?
This is a 5-year contract with Film LA. We've been contracting with Film LA since 2010, and we've had negotiations that included the city attorney, the city CLA, CAO, and former President Kevin James. We worked with Film LA to expand language having to do with Public Records and the Public Records Act streamlining, and to maintain adequate staff levels based on demand, and to make sure that we don't have any denial of permits that are received on a timely basis due to the lack of personnel, and acknowledging and providing improved services to other permitting services. We also worked on lowering the reserve for the city fees for a cash balance to equal at least one of the monthly average amounts. It used to be 2, but due to COVID, there's a lot less fees coming through, and so until the declaration is lifted, then the reserve would only require it for equal to 1 rather than twice the average. And again, we also have a fee schedule that Film LA has asked to increase in the permits and monitor fees and notifications. And then the last is a revision to the name Film LA for cosmetic purposes changed, and to keep the costs down, changed from Film LA, where the LA would have dots in between, to Film LA, so just so that for services in the future, because in past ones it indicated film.la. And that would be all of the changes that were made to this contract. We did add a new contract standard provisions and new insurance requirements. This would allow us one last time to, after this this contract is finished, allows us one more 5 years with Film LA.
Thank you, Eva. Excellent presentation. We also have, everybody, just as an FYI, and if there are questions, Paul Audley, the president of Film LA, has joined us as well. Good afternoon, Paul.
Well, Greg, I'm standing by.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, sir. Hot off his staff meeting, so we appreciate you jumping on, Paul. Thank you. All right, colleagues, questions. Vice President Garcia, we'll start with you.
Thank you, President Good. Eva, where are you? It was good to hear you. I wish I could see you.
I'm sorry, I don't have a camera on my computer.
I haven't seen you in a long time, but
No.
I don't have any official questions on this. I know there's been a lot of drop in filming in the past year. Has that picked up a little bit more now, or are we still, saying, looking at such decreasing of filming in our public right-of-ways?
Paul, do you want to answer that, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll grab it. So, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. We saw a pretty substantial increase back last November, and then, of course, Thanksgiving and Christmas with people gathering and creating the spike again. It dropped down pretty substantially. And then in January, during that spike, the industry was asked to pull back. So we had been running, after filming returned, only about 20% of normal, and had gotten up to about 48% of normal. then it dropped back down to 20. And right now, as we've entered into March, we're beginning for the first time to break the 50% of normal range. Having said that, I will also tell you that the complexities of filming in the COVID era make permits extremely complex to manage for us and the approvers at the city, because they have to spread out more, do more locations, keep their people more spread out. And so at the 50% rate, we're working our staff at 100% of capacity.
Thank you for that explanation. I imagine with the 50% rate, you're also, a lot of jobs have increased.
Yeah, again, because I think of the way it's having to work, we used to be able to put 15 people in a passenger van, and now you have to have at least 5 vans to cover that one van, which means 5 drivers are working and 5 vans are being rented. And so the the crew side of things seems to be very, very busy and much more occupied. In some cases, even running short of people. But it's because right now the requirements mean more base camps, more parking lots, more spread out people, and more transport back and forth because they can't all be on site at the same time. So there's a lot of folks working, just not as much production, but a lot of employment.
Thank you for that. I'm glad that you were able to give us a picture of what's going on the ground. My last question, during COVID, and I know that you're still taking all those precautions, can you explain to me what some of the precautions that you guys are taking? Specifically, I know, and I think I've heard, I don't know indeed what this looks like, a coronavirus officer or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So LA County Department of Public Health put out a document called Appendix J. That document and a whole list of FAQs are available on our website under COVID-19 resource page, which is a public document. But basically, it requires pre-testing for everybody on cast and crew, requires mask use, physical separation, extreme precautions and regulations around the actors for how long they can be unmasked and how close they can be during shooting. There is a requirement for what the county labeled as a COVID enforcement officer or compliance officer. That means someone has to be responsible and knowledgeable about Appendix J and the general regulations around public health and work during the COVID environment. They have to be identified, and they are listed on every permit now also, so that anyone can find them and contact them. Public, community, anybody can use that number and call it if they see a problem or if they're concerned. So the interesting thing is there have been extraordinarily few, even what you might call an outbreak on sets. They've been caught really early, and usually no more than 2 or 3 people have been involved. They've been removed, and so the industry has been able to work. Public health cites it as an example and is probably one of the safest places to be at work in the current environment. So they've had great success with these extraordinary measures for safety and cleaning on set.
Thank you. I appreciate all that clarification around that as well. That's it for me, President Good. Thank you, Paul and Eva. Nice hearing from you. And that's all.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you. First, I wanted to ask, in terms of the motion before us, this comes as a motion that goes before the board. Is that every 5 years?
Yes, except if you would like to extend the last 5 years, it does not have to come this way. It just has to be just an amendment to the existing contract, which is what this is doing. Unless there are changes to negotiate, it could just go forward for an additional 5 years.
So the current action before us is to extend it for 5 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I looked at some of the things that we are achieving in the contract in terms of the service provided. And one of those was to work with the community in such a way that we minimize our neighborhood and our other merchant districts that we have in the city. And what has been our discovery in our working over the last 5 years with both our neighborhood associations and our merchant districts?
So,
go ahead.
thank you, Commissioner Dr. Davis. We have actually grown our community relations staff to 4 full-time people. They have made direct contacts with neighborhood associations and business districts, in particular where there's more filming, but in any that we meet or inquire. And they have a one-to-one relationship with someone on that group. They work in advance of filming to talk about their rights as a community, as well as the film industry's rights when they come in. And they are the key person when their filming is on site for contact to try to resolve any issues that may come up. You may also be aware that a third of our board is made up of community and business representatives, some representing chambers of commerce, the LAEDC, Downtown Business District, Ladera Heights, and others, in addition to members of the film industry as unions and guilds and studios. So we've got a really great relationship building opportunity over the last 4 years, and we're providing video as well as in-person training for the community and how to be a good neighbor to the film industry when they go into those communities. So it's been an expansive project. Right now, of course, during COVID, a lot of that has had to be pulled back because we're not doing in-person meetings, but we are continuing to do the work remotely.
And to that end, obviously, we have to do the same task as it relates to individual residents, neighborhoods, not just simply the associations that have a specific role in those communities. What kind of feedback have we been getting over the last 5 years? I do recognize COVID has had an adverse impact on every business and every activity, but more specifically looking at the life of this proposal that was a 5-year span. If you can recall, since COVID, what kind of feedback have we had from communities and neighborhoods about filming?
Sure. So prior to COVID, Dr. Davis, we were running with one call for about every 18 shoot days, meaning a project out there somewhere in the city. We get one call, and frequently there were information, not actually complaints. So the community is really very supportive overall. Since the return after COVID, of course, there was a huge amount of concern from people who had not yet heard about the protections, didn't understand how it was going to work, in fear that bringing film industry into their neighborhoods would spread the disease. What we found is through the FAQs and talking with those individuals when they call in, virtually all of them come to the place of saying, oh, I didn't realize all that. I feel much better about it. And there are others who we hear from all the time, no matter what's going on, who are also using COVID as another excuse to object to filming. And you know, you have those people too on other projects as well. Many of them actually overlap. But we did see a substantial increase in inquiry. We have not seen a substantial increase in real resistance during the COVID crisis.
Great. Another one of the main tasks that you have is to collect fees. So in terms of fees, over the last 5 years, have we increased the fees, number one? And then number two, how have we been doing successfully? How have we successfully been collecting fees, or have we had a shortfall there in collections to any degree?
So on behalf of, the way the contract actually works is that Film LA is responsible for any fees that the city assigns to a permit, whether we get paid or not. So you're always paid. The city's always paid. It's not a problem. We have to chase down collections on people who don't pay us to reimburse us for having paid those fees. But it's actually one of the real benefit parts of the contract to the city, is you never have to worry about it. So basically, we had been seeing a steady, not huge, but a steady increase in the amount of filming and therefore fees that went back to do cost recovery for the city. And so it's been very efficient. I don't think there's been any real problems with the collection or payment. Certainly payments have been on time all throughout.
Well, the other thing that you have had the task of doing is developing a marketing plan for the city of Los Angeles to attract people here as a place where they should film and photograph for their film. So over the last 5 years, tell me about that marketing program and what you did and what some of the impact has been from the program.
Sure. So toward the earliest part of this contract, we were at the tail end of a program called FilmWorks. FilmWorks was designed to market to our own community the importance of filming so that it would become more friendly. You may remember it was a yellow and black. They were banners on street poles, on sides of trucks. The logo was real jobs, like REEL, with real impact. We also have been very involved in both film markets, which is where makers of film and distributors come. Here in the U.S., the American film market happens every year. It's in Santa Monica. It's several days. We are a major presence at that, doing seminars with booth presence and explaining how you can film in L.A. and encouraging people to come back. We found out through that Europe had a real belief system that they would not be able to film in Los Angeles if they came here. And so for 3 years, Film LA funded us going to a program in London, which was European-based for the locations community and film producers. And for 3 years, I went and I explained, and I even sometimes had to get union executives on the phone to say, no, we won't stop you from filming. We don't care who we work for.
Right.
But there was a real sense that they weren't allowed to work. In the first year we were there, we had 3 major features and 2 minor features come to LA. They were worth, those budgets for those films were a total of about $120 million.
Wonderful.
And so we continue to do that. And we also continue to do it through film festivals where we sponsor and get to do ad work and run promos and things for our region. And it's been pretty effective. We've been really pleased with the result.
Well, President Good and I will be available to help you do that part of the job in the future, in London or wherever else. Well, I wanted to also say that as we've looked at film, all of us have been working hard at the state level as well locally to try to attract more people to do filming here in California in general, but in Los Angeles in particular. And certainly we've had other municipalities, Atlanta and others, who are on our heels. As a film professional, what has been your observation with what we have done in terms of making progress overall over the last 5 years of this contract?
Well, I will tell you that I've been here 12 years now, and I didn't come from the film industry. But my first instincts and responses after doing a major tour of the industry with the unions, the guilds, the studios, they were talking then about runaway production, meaning their production was leaving California. And I had to change that language to ran away, meaning we'd already lost it and we weren't competing. The state got involved and got more involved, and through the state's efforts, largely with the tax credit, we stemmed the tide of folks leaving. But then it became a matter of actually recalling people back and convincing them they should be here. And so a great deal of effort was done to reach out individually to producers, some through our board members who are on Amazon and Warner Brothers, all the major studios, Netflix, the minor studios, Lionsgate, the International Film and Television Alliance, and putting out through them requests for people to give us a chance to explain how we can do the work. And as an example, I won't use his name, but there's a major director who every time he's going to make a huge film says, oh, I can't do that in LA. And his company will call me and I'll call him and I'll say, what is it you want to do? And they said, well, we need to make an ice field over the LA River. And I said, we'll make that happen. And they did. I want to do this 6 blocks of downtown and do rain towers. They won't let me. We'll make that happen. Right. And so we've been able to prove that there's no place with better cast, crew, or responsiveness of city government and staff to get the work done you want to get done than LA. And the reverse of that, Dr. Davis, the major challenges we face are simply the cost of being in California. And that's not something that we control. But that's the major push we get back all the time, is just the cost of doing business in California.
Well, I can tell you, as the former chair of the Entertainment and Sports Committee for the legislature, nothing could be more important to this region than to make sure we have growth and development in our film industry. And certainly as we contemplate voting on this contract, we hope that that objective that you are responsible for is one that you will certainly develop strategically to make sure that we continue to promote Los Angeles and help to secure more film in this region. The mayor in general is just concerned about employment. And I know that probably among our most significant industry of work is film. And we love the fact that we are the home to the film industry. And so in supporting this effort, we think that your work in doing that is so critically important. So I thank you for what you've done in the last 5 years. And I just want to say that I hope that we work very hard at continuing to market Los Angeles and continuing to secure individuals to come here to make film, because that is work. And that's what we're all about. So thank you so very much for answering my questions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Closa.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Bitar. Nice to meet you, Mr. Audley. I had a few follow-up questions as well. I appreciated hearing more about this contract. Obviously, it plays a really integral role in the work that we do in public works, as Dr. Davis alluded. I wanted to kind of understand a little bit more about the amendments made for this 5-year renewal. I know there's some kind of 4 main bullets that it's categorized under in the board report. If you could just elaborate a little bit about what the changes are exactly for in this renewal versus the original contract from 5 years ago. I was just curious specifically to the area here that kind of points to an amendment tied to the contractor, Film LA in this case, maintaining adequate staff levels based on demand, and the non-denial of permits received on a timely manner due to lack of personnel. I just wanted to kind of understand that a little bit more, what that was tied to. If you could just briefly share.
I think the goal is protection. It hasn't been an issue. We run into a couple of situations in the last year or so, prior to COVID in particular, where people are beginning to demand, for example, our monitors on site. They used to be considered a penalty, that you had to hire one, and people would grumble at us that they had to pay for a monitor to be present. Now they're utilized as community relations people and sought after. And so we had some situations where we ended up having to divide and conquer, where we'd have them going back and forth to close sites or doing part-time. And so we've tried to balance that, and that's why the language that's in there talks about maintaining a level that keeps an average number, not forcing Film LA to hire people beyond what they would need and therefore have them idle and not being paid as hourly workers, but also not going too low where we can't meet the general demands when they come up. We have, over the course of the past 3 years, as we began to see the shift in demand, cross-trained our notification staff so they can also monitor, and we can shift people back and forth as needed. So this is a protection piece for the city to make sure that Film LA does not pull back on staffing levels to the point that it can't do its job. But we've not had an issue directed at Film LA where we haven't been able to produce. Now, the timeliness of permits, I think, is driven more from questions from the industry, because they push back when the time limits that have been established by the permit authority in LA, which is LAPD, at least 3 business days in order to get the work done and notification out. The industry becomes very spoiled with the ability to file late and frequently be given the okay. When it gets really, really busy, we have to remind them of the timetable that's present, and frequently they'll throw up their hands and say, "You never told us." And I know that since I've been here, we've had to do this 6 or 7 times where we've reminded them, and it's in our documents, it's in everything, that there is a time limit. And I think that was a response to some of those organizations feeling that there was some set of perhaps shifting goals. It's not. It's always been the same, and those timetables are set by LAPD. We've never failed to meet LAPD's timetable.
Got it. Thank you for kind of unpacking that a little bit more. And just out of curiosity, how big is the Film LA team right now?
Right now, we are at about 86.
Oh, wow.
We are normally at 108. Last March 12th, I furloughed half of the staff. We've been building back since, as we've had more folks come in and the demand has increased. And some of our people have moved on because it's been so long. And we've been able to, the reason we furloughed and didn't lay off was so I could continue covering them with health benefits during this time. But as I said, we're coming up on a year for some of those. So we will build back as the summer arrives and things go back to whatever the new normal is.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And one of the things I was looking for in the board report is, I know this is a contract, but one of the things I didn't see was the actual value of this contract or the cost. So just from my understanding, is the city pays Film LA, or you guys use a permit fee for cost recovery?
Right. So the city doesn't pay anything for this service, and as I mentioned before, is at no risk because we have to pay everything due the city, whether we get paid or not. So our entire organization is funded by the industry through permit, notification, and monitor fees. That's our source of revenue.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to clarify on, because it wasn't clear to me the value of the contract in terms of your end of how you're able to do all these massive operations. But I understand that, the business model now that you've explained it a little bit more. We don't always get to have the privilege of seeing you or hearing about Film LA, so I know we're all very excited. And then kind of just the last piece from me is not so much as a question for you, but I would definitely love to see the Film LA work to the extent possible, and I know Dr. Campos works on this as well. We attended the last meeting on our contactless working group for the city to extent in which some of this is heading into a direction that's bringing more of these services online. I know I see your website and you have a lot of it online, but it's something that maybe we can follow up with you on. The mayor had an executive directive last August really around our city services and making sure that as much of it as possible is contactless because of COVID-19, which it sounds like you're already in that direction, but I would love to capture that work more so we can report it internally and share these great things that you're implementing through Film LA, since you're an extension of the board. So we can follow up with you on that item.
Sure, we'd be really happy to do that. And you may not be aware that in about a week, we're about to launch a new technology system for the industry and for the city, which will include GIS-based information, all kinds of abilities to do things that didn't used to exist, like on the system, do reservations at parks and other locations. So it is an extraordinarily expanded technology system that's coming online in about 10 days.
Exciting. Well, I will follow up with you. I look forward to hearing more. Thanks for your time, Mr. Audley. Thank you, Ms. Bitar. And I have no further questions, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for their questions that provided additional context for myself as well. Mr. Is it Audley? Is that how I pronounce it? I didn't want to mispronounce it. Thank you. I was wondering, you mentioned earlier that you just have some community relations people, and I was wondering, do you all have on staff like a PIO, like a public information officer?
Mm-hmm.
As well?
We do. Yeah. Okay. So Philip Sokolowski is my Vice President of Communications, Integrated Communications. He serves in that role, and in addition, in that staff, when we are fully staffed, there is a person who handles all of our social media as well as initial media inquiries. Most of the time, you'll see my name on stuff when it comes out, but he does handle as a PIO for that information. And we are available 24/7, 365 days a year through our general number.
Okay, thank you. I'm just asking because we just had during this COVID time, many restaurants had to shut down, and we still had some productions, still filming and providing outdoor dining, and it just looked like it was not in the best light for the city with this juxtaposition of closed restaurants, and then we still have outdoor dining for film crew. And for something like that, is this something that we can lean on you to also put out a statement? Just asking because it's the public doesn't know all of the information, and it helps just to have that, the kind of like set the tone. That's why I was asking.
Sure. And in fact, in the case that I think you're referring to, which is the Pineapple Grill, we were extremely responsive and kept Commissioner Good and the county and others involved informed. I was on about 5 television shows, and we did put out statements explaining why it was different with great empathy to that restaurant owner. We wanted to make it really clear that we understood her frustration and her concern and her fears. The main difference is, of course, and we explained this, is that everybody who's in the crew of a film company has been tested negative for COVID, which you don't know about your patrons. Everybody at the film crew has to sit 6 feet apart, which you don't do at the restaurant. And so there are really apples and oranges differences between the two activities, although they looked the same and we understood her frustration. The other part of it we didn't push so hard, though, Commissioner Villegas, was that that tent where the crew was being fed was owned by her neighboring restaurant and was paid for use of that parking lot for that purpose, giving some revenue to that other restaurant. And so we did, and then we had to do it with Union Station, and we had to do it with a believed homeless removal. We had to do it with LAUSD parents who felt kids being filmed in school when their kids couldn't go to school. So this has been a repeated use of the film industry's extreme protections and program that's allowed it to work against everybody else who's feeling such frustrations. And so we try to respond with great empathy, but also with really strong information. And you should feel free to call us anytime you need help.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Sometimes with these types of issues that pop up and they just kind of balloon out of control. Getting the right message is difficult, and hearing it is hard just because there's so many voices happening at the same time. So I appreciate that that you all stepped in, and just wanted to put that on record. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paul. I would just echo a couple of things. One, I have the extraordinary pleasure of getting the full street closure requests for shooting, and what has been notable, and I talked with Paul's vice president yesterday, Donna. The requests have been ramping up, certainly not to the level they were, I guess, a year and a half ago, but they are certainly ramping up, which is great news. And I do think it merits noting that part of what has happened is that, as Paul alluded to with Appendix J, the county's efforts and their very strict guidelines, that the industry has also invested an enormous amount of money. I mean, simply put, an enormous amount of money in making it viable. That said, it's important that everyone is held accountable, and the county is watching closely. We're watching closely. Film LA is watching closely. Eve is watching closely. But it is a lot of jobs, and it's good stuff. So I would just, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Tania Isagire and Ted Jordan for their great work on this contract, and I would absolutely thank Paul and his team for their incredible engagement on this and really digging into the weeds. I want to thank the dude who used to use my office. He was a little involved in the negotiations, since he could actually be involved in negotiations now. And then last but very far from least, I want to thank Eva Pitar for her great work and diligence and relentlessness in terms of helping to bring this to the table finally. So thank you, Eva. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Tania. Thank you, Ted. And with that, I would gladly entertain. Thank you, Vincent Aguirre, who's not here, but I think Paul alluded to the fact that, and Eva alluded to the fact that LAPD handles ultimately approvals on permits, and they and GSD really do an incredible job, handle a lot of traffic. So there's a lot of pieces to this. So, but with that, do I have a motion to approve the item?
So move.
Wait, was that you, Ada?
Second.
Oh, wait, who moved?
Villegas.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Never mind, Vice President Garcia. Seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns or questions, Vice President Garcia or Commissioner Closa?
None for me.
All right. Hearing no objections, thank you for all the great work. The item is adopted and approved forthwith. It will go to Council and the Mayor for approval and then come back for signatures. So thank you all very, very much. Eva, have a great weekend. Paul, have a great weekend. Thank you all for your good work.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Have a lovely weekend yourselves.
Thank you. All right, colleagues. That brings us to item number 4. Item number 4 is an authority for expenditure for Outfront Media J.C. Deco. Bureau of Engineering and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $65,710.02 to encumber funds for the payment of invoices for the Crenshaw Boulevard Proposition 1C grant project for the installation of 3 new bus shelters. This is AE 215-40002M, Fund 100, General Fund, Department Number 54, Appropriation Unit 0 or OOR638. Who's with us from Streets LA or from engineering?
Mr. Stephen Fierce.
Hello, Stephen Fierce. How are you?
Nice. Good today. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, so this is for the Crenshaw Boulevard Prop 1C grant project, which was awarded in February 9th, 2018. The overall scope of work is to improve the infrastructure on Crenshaw Boulevard, consisting of new sidewalks, curbs and gutters, pedestrian crossings, bus shelters, street trees, landscaping, cultural artwork, planters, and pruning trees and roots. So this AFE for $65,710.02 is to encumber the funds for the city's purchase of 3 transit shelters and is in accordance with Outfront Deco's, I'm sorry, I know I mispronounced their company name, existing city contract, and is consistent with the long-standing practice between the city and Outfront Deco. Whenever the city purchases additional transit shelters under the street furniture contract. So Outfront Deco is the city's exclusive supplier for these transit shelters. The city attorney, Ted Jordan, has confirmed his approval for this AFE. And the project funds are Prop 1C grant funds, and the AFE will be paid out of Fund 100, Department 54.
Thank you, Stephen. All right. Do I have questions or comments? President Pro Tem Davis.
None for me. Thank you for the report.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Closa.
No questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Commissioner Villegas.
Hi, thank you. Just a quick question. This one's for Mr. Jordan. Because Deco has the exclusive contract with the city, are we bounded to purchase our street furniture from them right now?
Well, they supply the street furniture for the city under the street furniture contract that they have. And so under that contract, they do have certain exclusive rights. The exclusivity is really more directed to the right to sell advertising on the transit shelters. So theoretically, if a transit shelter is desired, that's not going to have the advertising panel, which generates revenue for the city. I suppose we could get the shelter wherever we want. However, the advantage of getting shelters, even if it's a non-advertising shelter, through Out Front to Code, and Stephen, you pronounced the name correctly, is that they've made our other shelters. So the shelters that Out Front to Code supplies match and coordinate with other existing shelters that were provided by them directly through the existing street furniture program. So, I'm not sure if that gets directly to your question. We certainly support what the Bureau is doing.
My other question is, was this item, Mr. Fierce, was this cross-reference with Streets LA?
Cross-reference.
I'm asking this because, I think we're, this contract with the current provider is set to expire at the end of the year. And we are already looking at all the finances of, or let me rephrase that. We're looking at all the equipment that still may have life, so we can amortize that and have either like a payout to the current provider. And I think that this may, if we go with them, this will have to be cross-referenced with Streets LA to be able to make that, to be able to be included in the financial assessment.
Well, I can try to step in here a little bit. So the shelters that are added, as Stephen had indicated, from time to time, shelters are added to the sort of city's inventory in this way. And then once they're added, Out Front to Co then actually takes on the maintenance obligation, so they clean them. They have a contractor that does all that, and Streets LA does, have, when it tracks the inventory of street furniture, they know sort of the source and origin of each and every shelter. So I think that is kind of what you're going at. They all of that is taken into account by Streets LA, so they know which shelters were installed by Out Front to Co. They know under the original street furniture contract. They know when they were installed, and they know which shelters were funded directly by the city, such as the ones that are before you today. All of that, Streets LA keeps track.
They already know all that. I just, as this is coming up and it's new, we just wanted to ensure that we just cross-reference, with Streets LA.
Really?
Just seeing that it's coming to an end.
Yes, it was a very good question.
That's it. No more questions for me.
Vice President Garcia?
I don't have any questions on this item. Thank you.
Okay. And Commissioner Closa?
I already went. I said no questions. I'm okay. I can ask questions, but I don't have any for this one.
All right. All right. Do I have a motion to move this?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns or objections, Commissioner Villegas or Vice President Garcia?
None for me.
All right, hearing no objections, this AFE is adopted and approved forthwith. This would not be subject to the mayor's cost containment because it's less than $100,000. Okay, that brings us, before we head to our oral reports, to administrative item number 5. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works to execute the following items no longer needing cost containment review. A, construction contract awards and consultant task order awards for wastewater and other capital improvement projects that are fully funded by the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund. B, construction contract awards and consultant task order awards for capital improvement projects that are fully funded by Measure W. C, which I know Teresa is very excited about. C, construction contract awards and consultant task order awards for sidewalk repair projects that are funded by the Sidewalk Repair Fund. Does anyone have questions about this? And/or Dr. Campos, do you have anything you want to discuss on this item?
Nothing to add, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, nothing to add besides what was read into the record. The only thing I would like to share with the board is that the department continues to work with the mayor's office and the CAO's office in ways that we could look at getting exemptions through the cost containment. So this is just the fifth wave of exemptions that we are receiving. So we're keep pushing. We're still experiencing a backlog of about 4 to 6 months for approvals. The approvals are coming to us about 90 days now, a little bit faster than before compared to 120 to 180 days. So we are seeing some improvements. We are seeing less items going for cost containment. So hopefully this item before you will just add an extra ability to accelerate or expedite the approval process.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. So this is just administrative. We don't need to move this, do we?
I would recommend a motion to accept this or receive this item.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept and receive?
So moved.
Filed item. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Any concerns or questions, Commissioner Colosa or President Pro Tem Davis?
None for me.
All good? Okay. All right. Hearing no concerns or objections, the item is accepted and received and filed. All right. With that, let's go to item number 6, which is an oral report from Streets LA. Orlando Maxwell is with us this afternoon. Hello, Mr. Maxwell. From his bank.
Hello, President. How are you doing today?
Good. How you doing, sir? It's good to see you.
I'm doing great.
Good. All right.
Okay, good afternoon, President, Commissioner, Bureau Representatives, and Executive Secretary. I'm Orlando Maxwell, Streets Renewal Division Superintendent. This information is being provided to keep the public informed of the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays to the commuters. Streets LA would like to provide you with an update on all major upcoming street improvement projects. During the week of March 7th through March 13th, the Metro region will complete 18 projects for a total of 8 lane miles. On Tuesday, March 9th through Wednesday, March 10th, the Valley Resurfacing region will cold mill and resurface Nordoff Street from Amastor Avenue to Louise Avenue in CD12, our Northridge East Neighborhood Council, and that's funded by our Pavement Preservation Program. Additionally, we will provide an update on our 2021 Pavement Preservation Program. During the week of March 7th through March 13th, the Valley region will complete 9 projects for a total of 6.44 lane miles. The press releases were broadcasted and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council district offices to assist with the outreach to stakeholders, and we have coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. For additional information or concerns, you can contact Sherrod Nichols at 213-847-3200, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Any questions? President Pro Tem Davis.
No questions.
No questions from me. Thank you for the report.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Fernando?
Mr. President, we do have someone on the line that would like to speak on item number 6. Would you like to hear their commentary now or after the questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hear the commentary.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Caller ending in 682, caller ending in 682. Can you please press star 6 at this time to unmute your microphone? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 6. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Actually, 2 items, but anyway. For this one, the typical is please notify Dunn as to the locations of street improvements so that Dunn at least can notify the neighborhood councils when street improvements are being done that will interfere with traffic. So that's the basic element. There's a second item as to, does anyone in street services know when the Soto Street widening will be undertaken between Multnomah and Mission Road. And the last part, and this is kind of my public comment, is thank you, Fernando, Dr. Campos, as to the street lights are back on in the south central portion of El Sereno, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. They were fixed in about 2 days, and the lights are on. We're looking for more lights, so thank you for getting Bureau of Street Lighting to turn the lights back on. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. All right, Commissioner Closa, any questions about the Mr. Maxwell's report?
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your report, Mr. Maxwell. I appreciate you dialing in from your man cave there. We haven't done that in a few weeks. I don't have any specific questions for you, but just want to reiterate my request from, I think, a few weeks ago to, I believe, one of your other colleagues, if we can just also include the website to Streets LA on these notifications and how to sign up and look up the neighborhood council information. It is available on your website, which is great to see, but if we can make that more clear, so our constituents like Dr. Williams know where it's available, they can sign up to see when this work is happening by neighborhood council. You do provide that information. If we can just reflect that on your template, that would be really great.
That sure can.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Thank you, Orlando. Vice President Garcia?
Nothing from me. Thank you. Have a good weekend, Orlando.
Thank you. You too.
And Commissioner Yates?
Nothing from me either. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Mr. Maxwell. Enjoy your weekend in your man cave. Watch the All-Star game, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, and you enjoy too.
Thank you, sir. All right, colleagues, with that, we've had some very patient guests with us today. We come to item number 7, which is presentations. This is really an advisement number 1, African American Heritage Month recognition of prime contractors achieving diversity fiscal year 2020-2021. And with that, I'll hand it over to President Pro Tem Dr. Mike Davis.
Thank you very much, President Greg Good, and our distinguished members of the Board of Public Works and all of the others here from the department assembled. It's an honor and privilege for me, on the heels of African American Heritage Month, to give recognition to prime contractors who have been able to achieve diversity, and particularly to have had the privilege to hire citizens from the African American community over the last fiscal year. Just in background, we are one of 5 or 6 states, or it may be 7 or 8 by now, who have state laws that prohibit the inclusion of certain communities based upon race and or gender. And so these states particularly have challenges as it relates to inclusion in some of the publicly funded projects, particularly construction projects. And so there are a number of other issues that help to create opportunities for us to recognize those prime contractors who, despite what they don't have to do, include anyway. And today, this is a part of what we have been doing for the last 4 or 5 years in terms of recognizing those prime contractors in Los Angeles who've been able to achieve inclusion with a community that is underrepresented in the city of Los Angeles when we look at our very own data in terms of being included on publicly funded construction projects. I secondly want to say that the mayor's direction and his intention of leadership and his vision has been really characterized from the very beginning in his back to basic principles. he came into office saying that he would like to include employment opportunities in Los Angeles for all of Los Angeles. And then recently, he further substantiated that vision by implementing an Executive Order 27. This Executive Order 27 speaks further to his vision of what Los Angeles can be. And so in his Executive Order 27, he says that we need to assess the inclusion of people from Los Angeles, from every community in the work that we do. And so having looked at both his Back to Basic Principles on one hand, his recent executive order on the other hand, it is a privilege for me today to once again recognize this program that we do on an annual basis to give attention to 3 construction firms who happen to have achieved diversity in an area where we are underrepresented. And so on the heels of African American Heritage Month, I first would like to recognize Wood Environment Infrastructure Solutions Incorporated for the work that they have done over the last year in terms of the subcontracting that they have been able to hire in general, and in particular, their achievement of including folk who have been underrepresented in our public contracting in the city for the last year. So any remarks from the representative for Wood Environment Infrastructure Solutions Incorporated, we'd love to have you give brief remarks right now as it relates to this particular recognition.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Davis. I do appreciate it, and let me just say that I love your tie. I have one that's very similar.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make this brief. It's an honor for me to accept the award on behalf of our company. We work hard to not only achieve the diversity goals for our company, but we know that by us achieving our goals, it helps entities that we work for. For instance, we work for the Bureau of Engineering. We work with LAWA. We work with one of your sister agencies with the LA County Metro. It helps you guys with your diversity programs as well. So I'm very honored to accept this award. I would like to say one thing, and then I'll turn this back over to you. Our company has been heavily involved in, for lack of a better term, diversification of employment opportunities for residents and underutilized people in Los Angeles, going back all the way back to the LACPC days when we worked with Parents of Watts. Yeah, no, we go all the way back. Sweet Alice, I think her name was.
Yes, absolutely.
I met her a few times.
Alice Harris. Yeah, Alice Harris. I know her very well. Yes.
Over the years, we've worked on programs like that. We worked through LA Unified with their school intern program, where during the summer we bring kids in that are interested in the engineering or geology field or inspection field, and we show them what goes on in the background. They don't do any of the actual field work for obvious reasons, but we show, like, for instance, what goes into preparing a report, what goes into, like, creating an invoice, and then training on the different types of equipment that our company and techs use. We do the same thing with UCS or with interns from various universities. And then finally, one of the ways that we also help out is with annually we support the LA high school's basketball yearbook. We've been doing that, I think, going on like 10 or 11 years now. But it's, again, thank you very much. It is such an honor to receive this award.
Well, thank you so much. And believe me, the honor is really mine to be able to recognize you for the work that you have done. Next, I would like to recognize Cordova Corporation, who also is among the exemplars being recognized today for being able to not only to achieve diversity in general, but in particular, to have been able to result the employment of small businesses from a community that is most underrepresented in our data in terms of public contracting. So the representative from Cordova Corporation.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis and the members of the Board of Public Works. My name is Randall Martinez. I'm an executive with Cordova Corporation, and I'm thrilled to be here today and accept this recognition. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues from Wood and also from Harris Associates for their recognition as well. Cordova Corporation is a minority-owned firm. We are based in Los Angeles, and we have 8 offices located throughout California. Specifically, we grew up in the small business subcontracting program of the city of LA. And it's a particular thrill to be able to now participate as a prime contractor. We are a living embodiment of what these programs are intended to be. Just a bit of a side note, we have about 450 full-time employees that make up the offices located throughout the state. The office in Los Angeles is our headquarters building. We are on Broadway Street at Solano, near Dodger Stadium. We own that building, so we like to think of ourselves not just as a vendor, but a stakeholder in the success of the city of Los Angeles. Of our employees, 70% of our employees are made up of an ethnic group that is recognized by the city of Los Angeles. And we did a survey recently, and we speak 15 different languages at Cordova Corporation. And lastly, I'll have you know that over 40% of our workforce are made up of females. And those are all facts that we are very, very proud of. So I gladly accept this recognition and thank you for your efforts in taking the time out to acknowledge this.
Absolutely, and I thank you again, and it is certainly my honor to recognize the work that you have done over the last fiscal year. I'd also, to join you, like to recognize Harris and Associates, who too, like the other 2 exemplar prime contractors, have been able to achieve diversity, not only in just simply hiring minorities, but in particular, having to have hired small and emerging businesses who happen to have come from our most underrepresented community in the city in terms of those who have been doing public contracting with the city of Los Angeles and the African American community. So it is my honor to also add to this recognition Harris and Associates, and their representative can speak and give remarks now.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis and the board members here today. My name is Randall Berry, and I'm the Director of Engineering Services for Harris and Associates. And we also have Laura Jennings here, who is a Director of our Construction Management Group. We are super thankful for the recognition today. Harris and Associates is thankful for the opportunity to assist the city in delivering these important infrastructure and design projects and studies, which go a long way into improving the quality of the local community. We also take very seriously our commitment to these diversity goals that the city has, especially the African American community. And I don't know if you want to say something, Laura, but we're just very happy to be recognized and we enjoy working with the city staff.
Yes, I'll add my thank you, Dr. Davis, and thank you to the board for the recognition. It's very much appreciated. We're certainly, as a company, driven to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, and reaping the benefits of having all those voices in our company and on our projects and on your projects, and really partnering with you to build an equitable, resilient, and sustainable community that is the city of LA. We really appreciate the outstanding team members that we had on these projects. Simpson & Simpson Management Consulting and Terry A. Hayes, Associates Environmental Planners, were our team members. And they really bring a good voice and good efforts to these projects as well. So thank you all.
Thank you. And I want to say in summary, and I'll let my colleagues also give comments, that I am really proud of your leadership. You've done more than just be a prime contractor. You have demonstrated leadership. Why? Because you have reached down to an area that unfortunately has not been realized by people who have your access to power. And you have not only reached back, you have demonstrated what true leadership is. And I've been so impressed with what you do because you are the future of Los Angeles if we are to achieve the kind of inclusion that we're capable of. It's going to be individuals that look just like you who are going to have to provide the leadership. And you are, in my opinion, among those that lead the pack. And so I'm so proud, and I want you to know I've told our friends in the state legislature about you as well. And they will be sending you commendations because we are in this state of California. And we do have those prohibitive rules overall, but nothing ever said that you cannot hire someone. We said you can't be forced to hire them. And so you have demonstrated your desire to have inclusion. You didn't have to do it, but you did it. And so we're eternally grateful, not because you're a prime contractor, we are eternally grateful because you are a true leader and you make all of us in Los Angeles proud. And with that, I'll open it and toss it back to my president.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Thank you for the presentation. Vice President Garcia, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, President Good, and thank you, my Commissioner Dr. Davis, for your leadership on this. Your event is always so well appreciated by everyone in the construction community. You know, pre-COVID times, your team would have to come to City Hall. We would have a certificate. We would all gather around the flag and taking pictures. And our photographer, Ted Jordan, would have taken some pictures of us as well. And those were the pre-COVID times, right? And so I just wanted to remind how big of a deal this is, because it is. So thank you so much for supporting our initiatives of Accessing LA. It's our way to making sure that our small businesses, communities do not get forgotten. And I'm happy to hear that as primes, you really consider small business as an important and integral part of your success, to be honest. So with that, I just want to say congratulations, thank you, and I hope that we can reenact your certificate at some point, hopefully in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Calosa.
Thank you, President Good. I echo Vice President Garcia's sentiments. Definitely want to commend, of course, our Dr. Davis here for his leadership on the African American Heritage Month programming and really spending the time to recognize our prime contractors for all your work today. It's so nice to hear about your stories and to put some faces to some names that we read about all the time in our board reports. To see the people power behind these firms is really exciting. So I really love I love learning more about the LA roots, especially, and some of the numbers and statistics that you all shared about your team and how proud you are, because that's exactly that's the kind of teamwork that, and diversity and inclusion that we look at the board. When we look at the business inclusion program, or when we look at the inclusion program at the federal level, those are really important components to us at the board that, not only do we talk about it, but we really want to take this time to appreciate you for really implementing it and making sure that you realize that you really hold the keys to success for so many small businesses. And so that's really what this is that you all hold these keys to opportunities for them. And so I just appreciate you all. I can't wait to see what you'll do next. I'm really looking forward to seeing your numbers double even more. No pressure, but I think that we're all benefiting from the fruits of your labor. And I hope that you're proud of the city that you're helping us build. So thank you so much, and happy belated African American Heritage Month, because I know this was delayed from last month's presentation. So thank you, President Good.
Thanks, Commissioner Calosa. And Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. I won't take too much time, but I echo the sentiment of my colleagues as well. Congratulations to everyone. Thank you for doing such good work with the City of Los Angeles and for your endurance, starting out small and now growing, and having so many people employed, and just keeping Los Angeles moving and just doing many diverse projects and helping out local communities. I think that makes a big difference. If we don't have endurance, right, it doesn't, and persistence, things don't grow. So we really appreciate and acknowledge all of your businesses. I can't say the same, I can go on, and it's the same sentiments as my colleagues. It's just something that we're really proud of, and it really, we're just a big, collage of different people that make up Los Angeles. So thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Davis, for putting this together. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Thank you, colleagues. First off, Mike, great job, as always. Congratulations on a adapted African American Heritage Month. We had conversations on the front end and figuring out like how to make it meaningful, and you managed to do so. So congratulations on that. Dr. Campos, thank you as well, because you put a lot into that as well. And Cindy Bassett, who I know, and Tessa, who also put in a lot of time and a lot of work. So thank you to everybody. And I don't know if Tessa and Cindy are hearing this, but thank you to them. And then I really want to echo, I think Vice President Garcia alluded to the pandemic, and it is so true. It would have been nice to have cake and maybe some wine and roses, but we don't get to do that. But I do think, and my colleagues have certainly heard me talk about, we're living in this year-long pandemic, but we've actually been in a multi-century pandemic, and that is structural racism, and it clouds everything we do, and we fail to acknowledge it at our peril, and we will doom ourselves to repeating it until we actually really act with intention. And what I see with our honorees today, with Harrison Associates, with Cordova, with Wood, are folks who are acting with intention to address a chronic scourge that we all must not only feel shamed by, quite frankly, but also take responsibility for. And so I'm very, very proud to sit here with y'all and be a part of recognizing your work. This Board of Public Works seizes the opportunity to create opportunity. And you all are doing that. So thank you. Thank you for your great work. Thank you for your partnership. And we look forward to continuing to work with y'all in the future. So have some cake on your own, take some pictures on your own, and we look forward to seeing you when we get back in person, okay? Thank y'all. And thank you, Mike, very much.
Good weekend. Thank you.
All right. With that, Dr. Campos, I believe we've cleared the decks, no?
That is correct.
All right. With that, thank you, Randall. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, also Ryan. And everybody else. And have great weekends. This meeting is officially adjourned. Colleagues, we'll reconvene at 3:27 in the p.m. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.